Good evening, everyone. My name is Angelique Berg, and I'm the President and CEO at the Canadian Association for Pharmacy Distribution Management. Founded in 1965, we are the nation's trade association for the pharmaceutical supply chain, focused on pharmaceutical distributors and their trading partners. Distributors are the critical intermediaries connecting hundreds of drug manufacturers with more than 12,500 hospitals and pharmacies across the country. Together, they form the pharmaceutical supply chain that delivers over 90% of all medicines consumed in Canada. Together, we ensure the safe, reliable, timely, and physical access to medications. So I'm talking about those people that actually touch the product, that bring it to you. Before the pandemic, and much like water or electricity, few Canadians gave much thought to how their prescriptions got to their pharmacy or how hospital inventories were managed. We just assumed it would always function, no matter what. But like any infrastructure, the pharmaceutical supply chain requires investments to stay robust in normal times and adaptable during crises. But to invest means that there is some cushion between income and expenses, and this supply chain is running on razor-thin margins. Ours is a controlled market where all stakeholders want lower prices for medicines, and those are set by governments and their agencies. Distribution is funded as a fixed percentage of drug prices in the low single digits, dependent on the province. The percentage is the same whether that drug is going to downtown Toronto or to Moosonee, completely disconnected from the cost to serve those regions. So as governments reduce drug prices, distribution funding has reduced also. Prices for generic drugs, the most commonly used products, cardiovascular protection agents, lipid-lowering drugs, they have dropped by over 70% since 2007. Reducing distribution funding by the same amount, or an estimated $50 million per year, and they have not increased since. That's no increase, no raise since 2007. Distributors are also not benefiting from the newer higher-cost medicines, such as the precision medicines, those really exciting advances in cancer care and rare and orphan disease treatment. These drugs typically move from the manufacturer directly to the facility where that patient is being treated. And for those that do move within the supply chain, the funding percentage is kept. That's our income line. The costs have soared. Regulatory and operating costs have increased at least 2.5 times faster than distribution volumes in the past decade. New temperature control regulations added $20 million annually in needed investment to technology. Inflation has driven up fuel prices, warehouse costs, labor costs, and the result is a supply chain that's stretched thin with little room for investment in critical infrastructure or innovation. Prior to the pandemic, this supply chain operated in relative obscurity, mitigating thinning margins through automation, streamlining, and cost and service reductions. Distribution centers fell from about 50 across the country to about 30 today, meaning that product has to travel much further to get to the patients. Safety stocks to withstand short-term disruptions were reduced. Saturday deliveries were eliminated. Frequency to rural pharmacies were reduced. So when that pandemic hit, it hit with a bang. In its earliest days, along with hoarding toilet paper, patients were refilling months of their prescriptions at a time, quickly depleting the meager stock that distributors held. Rural pharmacies ran thin on everything due to the less frequent deliveries. In hospitals, demand spiked for COVID-related treatments, outstripping pharmacy medications. And critically, propofol, that was used for surgeries, was protected to sedate patients for intubation. It was a mess. Globally, demand for everything was high and supply was unstable. But Canada's supply chain actors did come together, and they coordinated a deliberate slowing of the product flow. Pharmacies limited refills to just 30 days at a time. Manufacturers and distributors equitably allocated product, allowing supply to catch up. And it did stabilize, but it was an incredible amount of work on top of their usual work. When the mRNA vaccines arrived, supply chain actors made significant purchases of walk-in fridges, freezers, and frozen packouts to meet new frozen storage requirements. And then they had to actually deploy those across 9.9 million square kilometers of mostly rural land, over roads, just 40% of which are paved, folks, amid temperature swings of up to 50 degrees Celsius. And they did it. But could they do it again? None of my members will answer that question. The pandemic exposed our weaknesses. It showed us that safety stocks, critical drugs, are needed to withstand production disruptions. Aging IT needs upgrades to respond automatically to production demands. Aging IT systems need upgrades to respond, to respond accurately to servicing rural areas. And capacity is needed throughout the supply chain to enable scale for emergency response. With funding controlled, costs must be reduced to match funding, but the remaining cost reduction measures are still to come, and they're going to impact patients. We haven't hit that balance yet. These decisions are being made all along the supply chain, and I wish the pharmaceutical supply chain was unique, but we're not. Distributors are not unique. This is happening in businesses everywhere in healthcare because our income is controlled. Canadians should have affordable access to the medicines they need. But looking at the issue through the narrow lens of lowest cost today has unintended impact across the supply chain. And it could create inequities in drug access in normal times and ill-equipped to withstand future crises. We need to have a rational discussion about affordability and accessibility and collectively decide where we want the government to invest. There are some promising ventures: the Pharmacare Act, Canada's Drug Agency, the Health Emergency Readiness Canada. But we need to keep physical access and that discussion front and center and hold governments accountable as an active electorate, ensuring we vote and that we tell our representative what we want. We're all here today because we are interested and concerned about Canada's health security, and we each have means and responsibility to make our voice heard for a strong and responsive and healthy tomorrow. Thank you.